it's supposed to feel.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life. I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light. Ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? They wanna say my name, but they holding back. They wanna say they hate, but they know it's cap. I ain't play no games, I just do that's fact. And I don't feel no shame, it's a mood you lack. I go crazy, nah bitch I ain't lazy. Track after track, I work on the shit daily. Pass me the jack, right as fuel, got me hazy. About to unpack all these things I've been chasing. I've got visions in my head, like memories after death. To be a legend instead of something you can forget. I'm living up every breath, I'd rather lead than be led. I'll fill the seats as I spread with every word that I've said. How's it supposed to feel? In my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say, oh, oh, la 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 la. Man, I'm up again. I got tired eyes, need a cup of blend. That's right, in the AM, that's my only friend. No light, just the sun coming up on the horizon. I lose track of time, yeah, I move fast and climb a new class divine, yeah, true passion shines. And I'm through passing time, I choose stacking dimes. You snooze half the time while I move passing by. I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say, oh, oh, la 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 la.
and welcome to another episode of the Buckle Bomb Show here on Bomb Media Productions. My name is Bobby. I'm so happy to be here to talk professional wrestling with you. It has been too long. I am not joined by my broadcast partner, Anthony Roan, today. He was not able to be here today, and this is an odd live Tuesday show. We haven't been around the last couple of Sundays, and there's some reasons for that. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but for now, we've had a couple of pay-per-views, a big AEW pay-per-view, a big WWE pay-per-view, PLE, Premium Live Event. And I want to talk a little bit about those because Tony's not here. I'm going to be running through things a little fast. There's not a whole lot, I know I'm not the best with the on-screen. Oh, excuse me while I wrangle my cat. But I know I'm not the best with the on-screen. Let me turn my mic volume down. It looks a little high. But, by myself, I think the strength in this show is when me and Tony are going back and forth. And when I'm asking him questions and he's giving his opinion and I bounce off of that. I'm not terribly good yet. At least not yet. I'm not terribly good at being on my own and getting my thoughts out there very well. I have way too many ums and uhs, and I know that can be a slog to get through just listening to me sometimes. So I'm gonna run through this show pretty quickly. I'm just gonna give some general thoughts on Full Gear, on Survivor Series, and a few other bits and pieces of news. There's an again. I gotta try and watch that. And then I'm going to have some channel announcements at the very end for this channel, for Bomb Media Productions as a whole. Some fun, exciting stuff coming, and I can't wait for all of it. But let's start with Full Gear here. It was a long pay-per-view. I think there were 10 matches plus the pre-show. And some exciting things happened to it. The return of the Elite. We had a TNT championship change. We had a world title change hands. But again, it was a very long show. I remember it started off with the cage match between, and again, I don't have like the match card up. I'm just kind of going by memory here, so I'm going to miss a lot. And again, it's just general thoughts and feelings on the show and what I remember. But I remember it starting with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and that was a good match. That was a fine cage match. Jungle Boy got the win in the end, which is what I think should happen. I don't know if that will eventually lead to a Christian match or not. Obviously, Christian's got the injury right now. We will see what happens there. I hope we move on to bigger and better things for Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Luchasaurus, I think with Christian Cage in his corner can still have a bright future as well. We'll see what happens there. Let's see, we had the return of Saraya and Britt Baker, and I liked what they did in the match. It wasn't a perfect match by any stretch. Even Saraya herself said she's still got some ring rust, but I think it was a good match. So I liked some of the trolling at the very beginning where she landed, because everyone online was like, oh my God, I'm so scared she's going to take that first bump and I'm going to be wincing. And sure enough, she took a bump and everyone kind of stopped. Oh no, she's hurt. Oh no, her neck. And then of course she got up and laughed at everyone. I thought that was great because everyone was, I think, a little over concerned about that. But I think the match was good overall, and I liked Britt Baker working on the neck and that kind of being the story, and Saraya overcoming it. It was a nice little story within the match. I think it was executed fairly well. The TBS championship match, man. And again, I like Nyla Rose. I love Jade Cargill. And I said this in the preview show. You've got a couple of heels here, and it just never clicked with me, the story here. It was Nyla Rose being an annoying bitch with, and stealing the belt from another annoying bitch, and Jade Cargill, it was just heel on heel, and it didn't click with me at all. And this was a match that I think could have potential. They could get to this match again somewhere down the line where one of them's a babyface. Now, this might be a ways off. Neither one has, is anywhere near a babyface turn at this point. But I think if at some point in the future when one of them's a baby, that match has some potential there to put some butts in the seats and sell some tickets and some pay-per-view buys, because I think there's something that could be there with the two characters and and that image in the ring of these two powerful performers. But the match, the story going into the match didn't click with me, and then the match itself, you got two heels, both of them green. It just didn't click. We need a little more time. I think we can revisit this match later, maybe in a couple of years, and I think it could be something special. But right now, for this show, it just didn't work. The TNT Championship 3-way match was entertaining, and there's no surprise there. The talent involved. We were a little surprised Samoa Joe went over to win the TNT Championship, but I think that works. I think we need to build Wardlow back up, and you can have Wardlow chasing Samoa Joe for the championship again, and that can help build Wardlow back off. He his reign as TNT champion wasn't that great, and he kind of fallen off after getting so huge with that feud with MJF, and ever since All Out, he's been struggling, I think, and just with the booking. And I think this could be a nice little reset button on that, where we can have Wardlow being built back up as he chases Samoa Joe for the TNT Championship, and maybe he has to go through a few people, go through Powerhouse Hobbs and a couple other people in some matches here, and build himself back up to become the TNT champion once again. And then the main event, Moxley versus MJF for the AEW World Championship. This match could have been better. I'm not the biggest fan of Moxley's in-ring work, particularly in his AEW run. Something about it doesn't click with me. I don't know. He likes kind of the outside of the ring stuff and kind of the over the top stuff a little more than I think I do. I'm a little more traditionalist when it comes to my pro wrestling. And I think some of the stuff here with MJF trying to be kind of a baby face, he definitely had the crowd behind him. Felt a little forced with the things he was doing, and a little, well, maybe you could say fake, and maybe that actually worked within the story and the context of the match and what they were trying to do with it here. I'm not sure the match did the whole lot of favors for MJF, but at the end, I loved what they did with Regal. I can't believe, I know Tony texted me after we did the Full Gear preview and told me, William Regal's going to turn on MJF, obviously. But for whatever reason, neither one of us saw that until after we did the Full Gear preview. And I think it was kind of obvious, and sure enough, William Regal slips in those knucks to MJF, and MJF gets the 3, cementing himself once again as a heel, as he should be. And then the fantastic media scrum moment with MJF. I'll say moment where he quoted CM Punk. I'm the best in the world. In the ring, on this microphone, nobody can touch me. He quoted that from the Pipe Bomb promo in 2011 in WWE. He quoted Jim Cornette, of all people, to finish the things off. So you talk about getting heat. He quoted Jim Cornette, "Thank you, fuck you, bye." And that was just excellent. He reasserted himself as the best heel in the business, and that's right where he should be. I missed the trios match for the trios championship, Death Triangle versus the returning Elite. I've made myself clear in my feelings, and I just said it talking about Mox and MJF. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to wrestling, and these, I know it's kind of the modern style, but it's just, it's for me, it's just boring and a slog to get through these matches that are just spot fests. It's one dive after one suicide dive, after a jump off a ladder, after a jump off a rope, after a obviously choreographed dance routine of kicks and reverses and this and that in the ring, and it's just way over the top and very fake, and there's no selling whatsoever. And I don't like these matches. And then to hear we're getting a best of 7. Ugh. I did think that they were going to do some trolling in the match where, maybe Kenny Omega would get bit or bite someone, and, maybe someone would throw a chair at Nick Jackson. It turned out that trolling didn't happen until Dynamite for the second match in this best of 7 series. Of course, Death Triangle would win both matches. I am happy Death Triangle is winning these matches, though I feel like the Elite are probably going to end up winning the best of 7 series, unfortunately. And I'm not excited to be sitting through all these matches between these guys, these 6 men. And I don't have anything against any one of them. It's just not my style of wrestling. I don't think it's any good. I don't think it's the way wrestling should be presented. I think it's just a choreographed spot fest with no selling and doesn't tell a story. But they are doing something interesting with the hammer. They did it with the end of the Full Gear match, and then they revisited that on Dynamite. So that has a modicum of interest at the very end, but to sit through that stuff to get to it is just unbearable for me. And I know I'm in the minority on that opinion. That's just how I feel. All right, those are my thoughts on Full Gear. Let me take a sip of my soda. We'll go ahead and move on to Survivor Series WarGames. Now, overall, I thought this was a better pay-per-view than Full Gear. Obviously, AEW right now is in this mode of we're going to give you all the matches. We only have 4 pay-per-views a year, and you're paying $60 for them. We're going to give you every match we can possibly give you, and make sure you get your money's worth. And I understand that it's a little bit of a slog to get through sometimes, because those pay-per-views can run long, and that some of the matches end up being a little short sometimes, and you're rushing to get through things. This match I felt this pay-per-view here with WWE flowed better, obviously, when you're doing one pay-per-view a month, premium live event. When you're doing one PLE a month, you can take your time with it. You don't have to, and, hey, it's on Peacock for as little as $5 a month, so you get the thing for $5. It's not a thing where, hey, people are paying $50, $60 for this thing. We want to make sure they're getting their money's worth. Let's put on the best show we can overall, and they've been doing that the last several pay-per-views, I think. And not that everything's been perfect. I didn't love everything about this WarGames show. Both WarGames matches were good, were solid. I liked that the women's match threw in all the weapons and all that stuff. They did a lot of that, and I liked the men's didn't. So they were differentiated. We have 2 WarGames matches on the same show, one men's, one women's, and that's kind of the modern style. I've always been a little bit hey, you have the same match concept or match gimmick twice, but I understand women's wrestling, and I have nothing wrong with that. I think it can still be exciting. And I liked that the match was differentiated a little bit with the women's involving a lot of weapons and all that stuff. We would have the baby faces win in the women's, and we would have, obviously, we had the returning Becky Lynch, too, on SmackDown the night before. That was fun and exciting, seeing her come back and having her be the 5th person on the babyface team with Alexa Bliss and Asuka and all of them. Mia Yim. And and Bianca Belair. And I think they put on a fine match. It was all right. I feel like the main event was better, slightly better than the women's. Obviously, the story with Sammy's the best thing happening in wrestling right now. Sami Zayn, Sami Zayn. And I liked what they did with that, the storytelling they did with that. And really, it was kind of odd having the baby faces with the advantage. If you know the history of WarGames, it's usually been a coin toss. They did it as a match, which was, quite frankly, better. In modern wrestling, you want to have that match on TV. It means something. It's important. So the baby faces had won the advantage match. So they got that person. They got the first advantage of someone coming in the ring. So you start with two people. The babyface side would have the next person come in before the heels do, before the bloodline did. So that would give the advantage. Normally, you want the heels to have the advantage in a match like this, in that sort of situation, where they can build up heat, and the baby faces can get sympathy and can, show some fight from underneath and be the underdogs. In this case, it was kind of the other way around, but I was okay with it because of the story they were telling. I think they're trying to put the bloodline over, and I think I was okay with it more here. Normally, I would be pretty much against that. You want the heels generally to always have that advantage, but I was okay with it with the way they were telling the story here and with the Sami Zayn thing and the way that was laid out. And you had that moment where it was time for a bloodline member to come out, and Jay was getting ganged up on, and all right, here comes Jimmy. Oh no, wait! Roman Reigns pulls Jimmy back and says, "Sammy, you go save Jay." And you have that moment because of this switch in the format a little bit with the baby faces having the advantage. So, and obviously Sami Zayn is, even though he's part of a heel group, he's the biggest baby face in the company right now, I think. So, because no one gets a reaction like he does in either company. So he's just so over right now. And it's the best thing WWE's doing, the best thing going in wrestling right now is the bloodline, Roman Reigns as champion, and this whole thing with Sami Zayn. And I'm excited to see where that goes. As far as other matches on the card, they were kind of forgettable. The Ronda Rousey match, I kind of skipped over it. I was busy on my phone. I didn't watch a lot of it. I wasn't interested in it. She retained. Not a big surprise there. And I love Shotzi. I hope they continue to give Shotzi, put her on TV. I think she's really good. I think she's a great talent. She's got a great look. Whether it's she's babyface now or heel, she's good either way. But this match just didn't click. And, man, there's not a whole lot else I can even remember from the show. It was mainly the two WarGames matches. What am I forgetting? I know there are a few others. But anyways, we'll go ahead. We'll talk about, I'm just going to run through some quick stories to talk about over the last couple of weeks. Again, with Tony not here. I don't want to get too deep into things. I want to get his opinion on some of these on the show and the next show he's on. But we could talk about William Regal. We talked about him turning heel at Full Gear and sliding the Nux to MJF. But there's been a lot of talk about his contract status with AEW. Apparently, he only signed a 1-year deal, according to, I believe it was Meltzer of the Observer. And obviously, the WWE, I think Triple H, would love to have William Regal back, so there's been a lot of talk about that. Is he going to return to WWE at the end of this deal? And, Triple H did share that video on social media. It wouldn't be WarGames without this, obviously with Regal announcing WarGames. So, I love William Regal. And, whatever decision he makes, I'll stand by. I think I think he's been really good. He's been great for AEW. I think he could be even better for NXT, at least behind the scenes. I think some of the guys, it's been reported and it's been said that by multiple people, that the talent in AEW doesn't listen to some of the older stars. They don't want to hear what people have to say. They're kind of set in their ways, which is unfortunate because I think you could learn a lot from some of these guys, especially William Regal. And I think putting him back in NXT would be a huge thing for that brand and for the future of WWE. But I think he's great in either company. Certainly on screen, he has a better role, I think, in AEW. And I love what he's been doing with the Blackpool Combat Club and now with MJF. Well, I'd love to see how this plays out. If it's true about the 1 year thing, I don't think he has very long, and not until early spring, I think. So only a few more months. All right, we will move on. I touched about I touched on it, the trolling of the Elite to CM Punk on Dynamite. I liked kind of what they did, the Jade Cargill and Bow Wow thing that's been happening. I actually thought that first video that was released, that was kind of like a fan video or whatever from the VAC, it looked like a work. Or, excuse me, it looked like a shoot. And I knew there was some Twitter beef happening back and forth, but when this thing happened and it looked real, it looked like a real thing that happened. Like, oh shoot, what's going on here? And then a few days later, a more official video came that AEW released, and you can see Bow Wow's kind of hamming it up for the camera, and it was more obviously a shoot, especially if AEW's releasing video of it. But it's got me interested. I'm curious as to what happens here. Bow Wow hasn't been relevant in a long time. But, obviously anytime you can get one of your stars exposure outside of the wrestling bubble is always a good thing. And I think Jade Cargill's the perfect star for this in this situation. Let's move on. Tyrus has become NWA World Champion, and I don't know if this happened before the last show or not, or I don't even remember if we talked about it specifically. But obviously, there's a lot of backlash against this and against Tyrus becoming NWA Champion. I think undeserved. I'm not saying he's the greatest wrestler in the world, but he's got size and a look, and he's been a big star in WWE. And again, I'm not saying he's the best wrestler in the world, but because of a certain news network that he appears on, I think he's getting a lot of undue flack and criticism. Let's see how this title reign goes. I can certainly understand it from NWA and Billy Corgan's perspective. He's someone who's on TV, carries that belt with him onto TV. Now you can argue, how much the Fox News audience and the Gutfeld audience would cross over with a wrestling audience. Probably very little. That being said, the NWA and that specific belt, there might be a lot of lapsed old NWA fans that never liked WWE, never got into modern wrestling at all, that might go, hey, I remember that belt. I like Tyrus. I watch him on Fox News, and he's the champion. Let me check out NWA. Let me look that up. And maybe, maybe they find a little bit of an audience, but, who knows? And again, just the fact that he's that former WWE star, and he's got a look and size. And, I don't know that there's anyone else within NWA that would be better right now. So, certainly controversial, but, controversy is not always a bad thing. People are talking about it. I'm talking about it. I'm not an NWA guy. So, that's not a bad thing. It's getting them exposure. All right. let's see if I have anything else I wanted to talk about here. Oh, I mentioned it a little bit during the Survivor Series preview, or review, or discussion. And I just mentioned that Michin Mia Yim. And when it first released, Michin, and I sent that to Tony, and he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Because we thought it was a full-on name change. It turns out it's not. It's just kind of a nickname. They're calling her Michin Mia Yim. So she's still Mia Yim. And then she also talked about what that means, what Michin means, and that it's Korean. She's half Korean. And that she was always called that growing up. And she talked about what it means, that it's... So yeah, she was always called that as a kid. It means a lot to her. And when I heard that, I softened on it immediately. And especially after you realize it's just a nickname, it's not her actual name. She's still Mia Yim. It's just Michin Mia Yim, which actually kind of flows and works too. So I am cool with that. I actually really like that. And I think we're going to see her continue to feud with Rhea Ripley. And that could be a great one-on-one match here coming up, probably Royal Rumble time. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see Mia Yim back in WWE and on the main roster. And I got no problem with Michin. I think that's actually... I did it first, but now that I've heard it, and now that I know it's not a full name change and what it means to Mia, I'm actually all for it. I think it's good. All right, so that'll do it for all the wrestling news topics and all that stuff. I do want to talk about some things going on with the channel. You might notice, obviously, I'm live right now, and it's a Tuesday. And Tony's not here, but we've talked about this. I think we're going to start doing this every Tuesday instead of dropping these on Sunday. We would normally record Saturday night, and then I would drop the episode Sunday morning. But I've recently switched jobs. I left one job and went back full-time at a restaurant. And obviously, we work at the restaurant. You need to work Saturday nights to make the money there. So recording Saturday nights is no longer an option for us. And Tony also got a second job where if I remember correctly, no, it's Friday nights. But, Tony's got two jobs, and he's the general manager of one place, and he's a doorman at a bar at another, so he's working a lot of hours. And Tuesday seems to be the one day where we both have, at least I can get off, and he has off. Today, he picked up, and he's working a little extra today to make some end-of-month money. But we're in the process of trying to figure out when the best day to record this show is, and also the other shows that I'm about to talk about here. So the Buckle Bomb Show, as of right now, and this could change, but as of right now, it's looking like the Buckle Bomb Show will be broadcast live every Tuesday. I'm aiming for 10 in the morning. Maybe it'll end up being 11. Obviously, I'm doing this at 12:30 today. But probably I'm aiming for 10 or 11 in the morning to be broadcast live with me and Tony every Tuesday. And then you may remember the card, kind of a show I threw around, and there were many different versions of already, just because I made it part of the Buckle Bomb Show at first, and then I tried to separate it out, and I was never happy with it. And now that I've kind of paused it for a little bit, and I've got a concept down, and how we're going to do it, I think it's going to be vastly improved. If we continue to do the Buckle Bomb Show on Tuesdays, then the card will drop. There will be 2 episodes a week. One will feature me, one will feature Tony. And we'll each give our top 5 on a topic. And, there'll be a lot of different stuff. So let's say it'll be, the card, and the topic of the week will be the 5. It could be let's just say ring entrance music. One of us will give maybe we'll both give our top 5 ring entrance songs, or maybe one of us will give our top 5, and one of us will give the bottom 5, and what we think the 5 worst songs are. So there will always be a topic. We'll both do the same topic that week, though they may be competing topics in a certain way. Mine will drop on Wednesday, and Tony's will drop on Friday. They'll be completely separate episodes. There won't be back and forth. It'll be all me on Wednesday and all Tony on Friday, and they'll have slightly different feels. I'll have my way of presenting. Tony will have his way of presenting his 5. And, you won't have to watch one to see the other, and, it won't be like it was before. And I think this will be a much better concept and a much better way of doing it. And I'm really excited about that. And then what I'm even more excited about is Classic Wrestling Reaction, CWR, where me and Tony will get a healthy amount of alcohol. We'll sit down and we'll watch some old wrestling show, often something that's terrible. Occasionally we'll watch something more positive. We'll need a palate cleanser every so often, I'm sure. But oftentimes something terrible. It'll be part reaction, part review, and the way I plan on editing, and we haven't recorded an episode yet, but the way I plan on editing this thing will be kind of a back and forth. It won't be like, here's the reaction and then here's the review. It'll be more, we're cutting back and forth, like we're talking about things and we'll cut to moments in the review, or in the reaction. And, I think it'll be a really fun, tight show where me and Tony are getting drunk, just razzing on some terrible wrestling, and then talking about it after and just making jokes and having a good time. And there might be some guests joining us, some friends that I know that like wrestling and that are funny people, and hopefully it'll just be a funny, fun show. And it's a show that you can definitely get involved with right now, because I want to be filming our first episode here pretty soon, and I want to know what you guys want us to watch. And there's a lot of terrible wrestling stuff out there, but if you go, our very first post on the community tabs here for BMP Sports is up, and it is a poll for what we should watch for the first episode of CWR. So once you're done watching this video, once I'm done here, go to the communities tab at youtube.com/bombmediaproductions and answer the poll on there. There's 5 options. WCW New Blood Rising's an option. Heroes of Wrestling is an option, and that's an infamous thing, and I've never seen it. Wrestlelicious, which actually isn't that old. Terrible women's wrestling series of shows we could watch. There's a movie, Ultimate Deathmatch, a wrestling movie that apparently is really awful. So, and I think there's one other, I think Woman of Wrestling Unleashed. So go vote for what you want us to watch for the first episode of Classic Wrestling Reaction. Now, this is all under, you may have noticed a couple of months ago, the name of this channel changed from Bomb Media Productions to BMP Sports, and you can see the logo right down here. BMP Sports, what I did was, because I had other things, and you may have heard about Qualified Human, and me and Tony have been talking about that show, and the logo's been out there for months and months now, and it's Tony's interview show. And I've got several episodes more or less pretty close to ready to go, but as I've learned more about YouTube and having, being a broad channel just doesn't really work, especially a channel that's trying to grow. So what I did here is I split up the show that had already started, youtube.com/bombmediaproductions, and I made that BMP Sports. We've already got the wrestling show on here. A lot of my subscribers remember some very old videos they subscribed back in the day for some old football videos. Eventually, I do want to have an NFL talk show on here, though that's not going to happen until next season. I do have a logo that I made for it that I like. I think it's a little pretty, but it's not going to start this season. It won't be ready in time for the playoffs, I think. So right now I'm going to focus in on these wrestling shows, and eventually I'll segue into some NFL stuff and maybe some more sports stuff on this channel. But then there's another channel called BMP Popsplosion. And that's the channel where Qualified Human will be on. This is a channel, and go search it right now. If you're interested in pop culture and nerdy stuff, in television and movies and all that stuff, if you love Star Wars, go subscribe to this channel. It's going to have a lot of TV show reactions. Right now, there are a number of Andor reactions. I think the first 10 episodes of Andor are up, and I need to... maybe the first 9 episodes, I need to edit together the last 3. I'm going to work on that here as soon as I'm done with this. There are also going to be Tales of the Jedi reactions I need to edit together that I've already filmed. So a lot of Star Wars show reactions of me reacting to it. Qualified Human, I've mentioned. That's Tony's interview show where he interviews just different people within pop culture and that are online, influencers and sex workers and all kinds of different people. Really good, fun show that's about getting to the heart of what it means to be a qualified human. And then another reaction show that I've got, you can see in the middle down here, it involves me and Tony. I'm a huge fan of The West Wing. I love that show. I think it's fantastic. And obviously in the political landscape, it's hard to talk about politics without there being this huge divisive thing. Tony, I thought he was conservative. He really actually considers himself a constitutionalist and a libertarian. And I like the idea, and I consider myself a libertarian, but me and Tony have a lot of differences politically. But I love The West Wing. He's never seen it. So I want to do a West Wing reaction where the hook is that Tony, a libertarian, watches The West Wing, a show that does push some more liberal ideas, classic liberal ideals, and very pro-government. And even though I'm a libertarian, I love the show, and I think it's fantastically written and fantastically acted. It's just a wonderful show. And I'm curious as to whether or not Tony will like it. I wanna see with all of you. I think all of you would enjoy seeing that as well if you're into that sort of thing. And if you like The West Wing, obviously on this channel we're focused on sports. If you're not into that, that's fine. But if you're interested in any of these things, if you're interested in movies, there are trailer reactions. They're going to start popping up more and more. We're going to start doing movie reviews. And there are other shows I have in my head. But the West Wing show is one I'm really excited about because it allows us to talk about politics, but in a way where we're kind of removed from the modern polarization. So we can talk about just the issues from a very sort of high-minded, non-judgmental place where we're not talking about the modern politicians and the modern divide, and we're not getting into the specifics of that. We're just going very much our feelings on government and what that means, I think, to people, to us, and what it can mean and should mean in a country. And I think that could be a fun discussion, along with just a really fantastic show with great writing and great characters that we can also discuss at the same time. So I'm really excited about that West Wing show. Libertarian reacts to The West Wing. Obviously, there'll be more shows, Marvel shows I'll do reactions to, and there'll be more stuff coming on that. So I've got some ideas there. So that, if you're interested in that, if that sounds interesting to you, go over to, you can actually type in YouTube. I don't have, there aren't 100 subscribers yet, so it doesn't have its own URL. But you can do youtube.com/@BMP Popsplosion, and it will take you to that channel, or just search for BMP Popsplosion on YouTube, and you can find the channel and the videos there, and subscribe to that, and be on the lookout for more stuff. I think it'll be really fun over there, and I'm really excited about that. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Buckle Bomb Show. I'm your host, Bobby. I was so happy to be here to talk professional wrestling with you. And I don't know for sure that we'll be here next Tuesday. Well, I'll tell you what. for sure, I will be here next Tuesday. And we still might have to work on Tony's schedule and getting that in. But I will definitely be here next Tuesday, and I'll see you then.
The preceding announcement has been paid for by Bomb Media Production.